into the Global Championship stage, and the best they've placed is 20th. So in terms of caliber, in terms of pedigree, Falcon are going to be the heavy favorites coming into this one.
Well, let's get into a little bit of detail as to how it played out between the two of them before. We know that it was a 2-0, but was it a close 2-0?
Unfortunately, not really. Both games ended up as a blowout. And our definition of a blowout game is when you have 3 members of the team in the bottom 4. Game is already mathematically over. It's just closing out then. So I think the most important thing for Na'Vi to kind of adjust is how do you protect those low roll players. That has been the key because Falcon are absolutely relentless. This is what they like to do. They like to target people who are low HP and on the bottom of the HP pools.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting kind of way to approach this. It kind of reminds me of what we see from the French players in the EMEA scene. They're just playing in an entirely ruthless way and saying, you know, if we've got this early win condition, we're absolutely going to push it through. But I'm going to try and be a little bit optimistic here and say, you know, at least the small victory here we've got for Na'Vi is that probably the Falcons didn't learn a huge amount about their strengths from that first best of 3. Whereas for Na'Vi, you know, they learned a lot about what the Falcons are going to be bringing to the table. Help me cope a little bit here. Are there any weaknesses, perhaps from the Toronto Ultra Series, that Na'Vi could take advantage of?
We have seen again and again when upsets happen, either with the Fnatic series or with the Z10 versus Fnatic again, is that prismatic augments are not that close in terms of power levels. This is how Falcons lost to Toronto yesterday, was they started with very weak prismatics early on, went 7 and 8, and the game was unsalvageable. So if you try to add additional variance into the game, maybe pick up a prismatic party, prismatic prelude, that could be your way into the upset scenarios, which we've actually seen quite a few times already.
Sadly, it will be a golden prelude this time around, so no spicy elements to bring things to bear. I mean, from the Na'Vi side of things, we're talking about Falcons being really, really good in the early game, pressuring down players. Is there any way to turn that back on them and make them, make that strategy less effective, or do it to them indeed?
I think the most important thing is you don't want to pick big lose streak augments early on. If you're losing HP against this team because they're so hyper-focused on griefing on the bottom of the totem pool, I don't think it's going to win out very well for you. So I would prefer to see Na'Vi go for a lot of strong early augments, try to fight them tooth and nail in the early game and preserve HP.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, at least getting past that bar is something, but it's a heartbreaking thing to lose out of the game before the top 4 even really gets going. It's certainly a very effective strategy if you can keep your opponent's pressure down. As we start to focus in a little bit on what we've got coming in early on, of course, remember, gold organs will start us off. So we know we've got several very powerful gold organs. Even if it's not prismatic, there's still a fair amount of variance as to how good these first organs will be.
There's a lot of those high-stakes augments that could come out in the golden tier. We saw Fortune Favors the Bold yesterday, Scoreboard Scrapper, of course, from Honglian as well. And, all that shimmers right now is just such a good early augment. It gives you gold, gives you an additional item, helps you tempo as well. We've seen this been one of the most common pickups from across the entire board. And Sanyup, he actually is going for Fortune Favors the Bold. He's going to go full open. This is actually what I cautioned against. But let's see how it goes.
Is this such a bad idea as to maybe be a genius idea?
I'm not sure. The reason why this is so hard to play, and we saw yesterday that Z10 tried to play this strategy and went 7 and 8, is because anyone on the enemy team, if they full open, they just break your streak. Currently in the game right now, if there's 2 open forters, then it just breaks all the streaks there. So you don't have anything to play up.
All right, we'll get things on the way. Of course, we know the support golem will be always a very solid pick, and that at least will be some early strength jib pop there on the Na'Vi side of things. I suppose we can say, the big back-breaking moment for the teams is always going to be the 3 players who get into the bottom 4. At least if we've only got 1 player pushing that kind of direction, it's a little less likely.
If we're talking about aces here, I think Xiaoge has been the single best performing player in the entire tournament that we've seen so far. But he's actually started out with a bit of a low roll, went for the artifact, and actually got, I believe it's Endless Despair, a little bit queasy on the names, but that isn't really an artifact that people are looking for. Doesn't fit with any particular champion here. So, this could be a little bit worrisome. Still a very strong start early on. We'll see how Xiaoge does. He's been to the Global Champions 2 times. And finished 4th both times.
So he's definitely taken this ahead of the others. He's going to go for, well, it makes sense. You've got the despair damage coming through and you're breaking those shields, so going to try and make the most of them. We certainly know Vanguard as a whole are generally going to be very powerful. You can see on the other side from Ice, I believe, yes, we have got the Shimmers coming in for the Gambler's Blade and a Syndra there. Of course, we know, as always, Syndra will be a massive part of all our games today.
This has been something that has been surprising us a little in the tournament. Usually Mogo's male because in the front line and the gold generation potential has been selected a lot more in solo queue. But here at the tournament where everyone is playing Syndra, filtering for Syndra, it has always been the Gambler's Blade that has been selected. So very interesting choices right there. And Yugo buying a Charm. I believe that was a minor wish. Get some extra combat power onto his board here.
Yeah, we're going to be able to print out a few extra components as well. I mean, if we're looking for strong early strength, then we've actually got it as Na'Vi. Oh no, thank you to our observers for highlighting for us. You called it immediately as soon as it came in. Open fort versus open fort. We know that this is going to be maybe a disaster brewing here if the Fortune can't get going. And it's the empty field, one against the other. So this is the unique case brought in more recently in TFT's history that neither player counts as getting the loss. It just resets everything.
Yeah, and that's a huge blow here. It's not just only the reset, but it means he has to cash out on Fortune Favors the Bold. And when you're playing this, you want to go to 10 loss streak. That's usually the golden amount, and you play Preserver Warriors. But I'm not even sure what the cash out at 2 losses is right now. It's going to be...
It's not the same as 10 losses, let's put it that way.
Essentially, Sangyup is going to have to play without an augment.
Yeah, and that's a disaster, particularly if you're trying to avoid staying out of the bottom 3. Of course, as we come into our first carousel, we can see that the Falcons, at least right now, are occupying the lower spots. We've got Yugo and Jipok both managing to keep their streaks intact. So at least, as long as 2 members of Na'Vi are doing well, we avoid that disaster scenario of getting pushed out of the game early.
Yeah, they still have a lot of players with plenty of HP here, but they most likely will have to play with Sangyup going 8th in mind. I think that's just sort of, when you're down in augment, that doesn't give you anything. That's kind of an inevitability. So what that usually means for the rest of the team is they need to find their win out, they need to protect their win out, and use that tiebreaker advantage. If you have a player that's going 8th place and you don't have a player that's going 1st, then your only win condition left is to send the other team, 3 players from the other team, into the bottom 4. That's a very difficult win condition.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the ask here. I mean, yeah, you're right. Even if Yugo and J-Pop continue to do well, that still wouldn't be enough. So for the time being, Sangyup will just keep the board open, trusting no one else will bother to go after him again and maybe hope for a lesser cash out. Xiaoko, you mentioned as a strong player from before, has got a decent amount of traits into place as well, has pushed up to level 5. Up on the other side from Yugo, of course, with those extra items, the Syndra in place from early on, as well as getting the Eldritch online, I think still not going to be quite good enough to break the streak.
Looks like both of our win streak players are going to continue here, and I do want to mention Here We Go's role on this team because it's been very funny. He has the lowest AVP on Falcons, and every single game he's been tasked with griefing a player from the opposing team. He's played fully contested all of his games on Syndra and Kog'Maw, so he is the designated spoiler on Team Falcons.
I mean, we've talked about roles on a 4v4 team before. I think it's really interesting to have a team where it's so stark and so direct to saying, this is absolutely worth it to play a completely non-standard game of TFT. I'm assuming Here We Go is probably traditionally going to be that 4th player in the bottom 4 along with the 3 of the opposing team.
Definitely is the case. And he's playing spoiler again, already brought Sangyong's Fortune Favors the Bold down. Now let's see, the 2 win streak players are going to face each other. I do favor Jipok's board a little bit more here. He had a great roll onto the Locket.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's saying there's a huge amount of extra power coming in, and it does look like it's going to just about be good enough, even with the portals proccing again and again on both sides of it. That's a convincing victory for Na'Vi. Again, we still need to see more than this from them, but breaking the streak just ahead of the PvE round is certainly a nice way to start building up a very different series than the first time these 2 clashed.
At the very least, he denied the runaway potential that Xiaoko has on his board. This is something we've seen Xiaoko play. The way he acts as an ace is that he goes for these high-cost compositions, and he's very flexible. We saw a Bastion emblem come out from him. We saw the sort of Pyro Callista line being played as well. He has a lot of different ways that he can cap his board. So making sure he doesn't go into Stage 3 with a full win streak, very important to dampen the ace.
Though Falcons do manage to maintain their loss streak here on Ice, something has been a relatively flexible player from my understanding from what you're talking about before. So we've got a little bit more potential there to have a bit of a swing around the sun moment. I'll be curious to see where Ice goes longer term. I mean, of course, we've got the Cinder in place, we've got the Cassiopeia as well, and a good front line with the Nico. So 2-cost reroll certainly seems to be on the cards.
That definitely seemed unjustifiable for Ice. He found all of the best items. Guinsoo's Rage Blade into the Gambler's Blade, a very good start for him. The big question for him is, as a full loss streak player, when are you going to start those roll downs? We've seen yesterday in KC games where they wanted to roll early for those Syndra, stabilize on Syndra 2, but they just whiffed completely, and that could be a very detrimental part of the game plan. So I think a lot of players are going to be keeping their eyes on Ice. He has 55 gold now. It's probably going to be a 3-2 roll down, and a lot of times it's going to be about dexterity. Pick your augments as fast as you can. Make sure you grab those Syndras and not let Ice hit that Syndra 2. If he doesn't, that's a huge swing in momentum.
Well, I mean, let's, as we wait for these next augments to come in after this round, let's kind of zoom out a little bit to the overall meta. I know that you were kind of more keen on players and teams starting to look more towards the 4-cost side of things, rather than relying purely on these, trying to hit the 3-star 2-cost instead.
Yeah, we have been seeing a lot of teams being willing to push the cap down. So the best way to deny a runaway Syndra player on the opposing team is actually to play Syndra yourself. So we actually seen the Syndra play rate go up in day 2, but the win rate go down. Nobody's hitting Syndra 3s anymore. Everyone's making sure they're holding on to the Syndras. And what that does is that actually opens up other 4-cost compositions to compete in the meta. So I've been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, well, of course, we'll have to see in the aftermath how it affected day number 3. Of course, one more day to go with our semi-finals and grand finals to see who will win it all. So we've gone from golden into golden again. And of course, we'll be looking to see if anyone does manage to pick up any interesting emblems if they're forthcoming.
I was talking about trying to deny the potential for a Syndra 2 coming out from Ice, but it just isn't possible. He gets the Encounter Crest, which gives him a free Syndra anyway, and now he's set up very well. He doesn't even need to roll that deep here, already sitting on the Syndra 2. Yeah, and I think this is the correct playstyle. We have been seeing a lot more players being willing to just sit there on the Syndra 2, wait for a while, and if you look at his build here into the Nico, he could go into the Wukong build that we've seen quite often as well, doing very well yesterday.
Yeah, of course, so players do need to find a little bit more leverage at the 3-cost side of things, but too healthy for crazy moving here. Make sure the board with the Vanguard fort in place. I mean, this has, of course, been the defining composition of the entire tournament so far. Up against Here We Go, bringing out the Cogmore Tristana variant, which, again, from day 1, we saw some pretty appalling stats for this composition, but still being picked up here this late into the competition itself.
The most important thing is if no one is contesting this comp, it can still do fairly well. This is why a lot of players said that we still believe in this composition. It's about denying the other one from running away here. I still think he's going to have a decent power spike at this point. And looking at Crazy Moving, this is basically a slightly weaker version of what Ice is playing currently. Ice already has a Syndra 2. He's sitting on the Syndra 1 here. And until you find it, you're just going to continue bleeding out.
All right, let's update a little bit as we come close to the stage 3 carousel. Jitbot continues to have a massive win streak up at the top of the table, with Yugo barely below him. So right now, I mean, we had the diagnosis of the problem the first time these two teams clashed, getting pushed around early on. This time, Na'Vi actually looked to be, despite the fortune problems, doing pretty well in the early going.
We already see 3 Syndra players overall, and Yugo has one of the strongest variants here with the Eldritch mascot coming out. Has extra 2 items and already has the Malphite here, so very strong board. I think he's going to continue to win streak throughout this entirety of the stage. If you look at his rolls, he did spend 12 gold just to secure that Syndra 2, and I think this is how you want to play it out these days. Don't force yourself going into the Syndra 3. That's unobtainable. And if you're looking at his board, he got very lucky with his rolls in those 12 gold. He actually found a Nami as well.
Yeah, and of course, we've seen Nami be a massive difference maker when she arrived unexpectedly. Jitbot, though, will have to eventually give up that win streak just ahead of Carousel. So we're going to have to start to settle more into the mid-game now.
Yeah, a bit of a tough moment coming into this one because whenever you see a player going very low in HP like Ice did with his loss streak and then he turns into a win streak and your strongest player on the team can't face him, that's always a bit of a concern for your team, you know, not being able to keep those HPs down. A big thing is, can Sanamp actually find something to stabilize? Of course, he had his Fortune Favors the Bold broken early on. I'm not even going to check what he got. I just don't think it's
two of the very smallest orbs, if I remember. He left them on the ground. I think he didn't even want to touch them. But it is worth bearing in mind, you know, Sangyop, it has built up another loss streak too. It's not going to be the massive game-changing Fortune Favors cash that we would hope for, but it also won't be completely irrelevant either.
Yeah, I think he's just going to be playing down an Augment, and his outs is most likely trying to get a 4-cost 2-star online very early, see if he gets lucky right there. He's banking a lot of gold for it. On the meantime, Ice, you know, I think he's in a very good position, but doing a huge roll down onto level 7. And as I was mentioning, because he has the double gargoyles, is going to go for the Wukong build. This is the build that only started getting played yesterday, and it has a 50% first place rate.
Wow, that is pretty wild, especially in a land where you can't necessarily get hold of all your 3 stars otherwise. We'll see how it does here in this round. Of course, you know, I do kind of like generally the idea of having that one big tank on the front line, because Syndra, of course, you know, she does a lot of spread damage around the place, but a single target, a little bit less impressive.
Yeah, it's very hard to take down this Wukong in stage 3. You can see Ice rolling down all of his gold. I think the only consolation prize on the other side here is that, hey, Ice did not pick up any additional Syndra. So, you know, those characters are still in the pool. There's still a chance to hit that 2-star for him.
Taking another quick glance across, you can see Na'Vi, they've got the top and the bottom of the scoreboard locked down so far.
Oh, wow.
Sangyup has got up to a 6-loss streak. Crazy Mimi with a 4. Of course, Yugol at the very top itself. So I'm kind of curious to see how Stage 4 ends up developing here, because presumably there is, you know, still a good amount of money flowing into the Na'Vi bank account.
Counterfeit, are you seeing what I'm seeing here?
Oh.
It's
no.
a golden quest again. Let's go.
I believe, well, you tell me if I'm right on this one. I believe we're two successes, 0 failures so far, at least in terms of what we've seen on streams coming through from the Golden Quest.
Oh, I love this Augment. It's just so fun to see players go for this. A 3-2-1, but he started in a very interesting spot. He actually had a full win streak going into this Golden Quest, so not saving up as much gold as some of the full loss streak players. It's going to be interesting to see when they cash out. When we saw yesterday from Soju and Honglian, it was around 4-2. I think this might be a little bit later.
Well, that was the question that kind of came up at the time, was, you know, you can push towards completing the quest as fast as possible by giving up all of your HP, or just treat it as, you know, a very long-term investment and still try and play as regular a game as you can.
Absolutely, and you know, it all comes down to what you actually get from the pool. Soju got a Camille, a great solo carry, and Honglian got a Diana, 2 of the best possible options. But if you find something like the Smolder that requires a lot more setup, or you hit a support champion like the Milio, your game plan could go down very quickly.
Yeah, and of course, you know, when you're playing that risky, you've got to do it. I do think from the Na'Vi side of things, you know, you'd expect to see them wanting to take the big risks in this game because they come in so disfavored. You know, having lost 2-0 in the first time out. Worth noting, Yugol though, from Na'Vi, it's stepping up to the 6-win streak up at the top. Sangyup again, the Fortune player, needs to eventually be trying to get that cash out before he runs out of HP.
A massive low roll on the side of Schalke and a very good roll for Sangyup. He was already playing within the portal line, and he just hit a level 8 Nora right off the bat. It's going to allow him to play 6 portal. He has plenty of AP items to then fill out his entire composition. I think Sangyup will be stabilizing after losing that Fortune Favors the Bolt.
And we're seeing a little bit of a taste of what Fnatic showed us yesterday just before being eliminated, bringing the Rise into play. The Quincy's, of course, enhancing, but double AP, including the Archangels as well. If this Rise gets time to work with, he should be able to nail down absolutely everything.
And his teammates are helping him up. Jidpak, he has a lot of HP, but not a lot of the future. He's only sitting on the Syndra 1, so they're shifting HP over to Sangyup. Sangyup, even though you don't have a combat automate, you wasted that one, you're still going to have to be the carry right here. They're banking their hopes on him. And he's already on 2 Noras. So the big thing here is, if Sangyup gets into that carousel, there's a Nora 2, that could be the win outcome.
Well, we'll see if the 3rd Golden Augment will help get along that way. Certainly inspiring Epitaph would be a fancy way to make sure your board stays intact long enough for the Rise to get the job done. Of course, we're keeping our eyes out across the field to see how things develop, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, we've had the breakthrough. Maybe Sanyap's got what it takes.
Let's take a look at the items here from the rest of the players here. Sanyap, does he find that Nora 2? Doesn't really get it. Also, Rise 2 would be a huge stabilizing factor, but misses on both accounts here. Jace is not going to be really enough, so he's still not out of the woods yet. No 2-star carry here. He's looking a bit shaky.
Oh boy, looking so closely at this board, exactly as you said. So we're making sure, of course, Yuumi is enhancing our primary carry here. I do think the front line's looking decent, if not absolutely incredible, up against fellow teammate there. Of course, Jitpok can afford to take the L. Sonyap really needs to find his feet.
Yep, Jitpok, of course, playing for that golden quest. His items are more suited for an AP backliner, so I don't even think that Xerath can really save him, so Jitpok may be looking for potentially Morgana as his best option given his items here. Of course, with the golden quest, you do get a full set of carry items as well. But, you know, having that extra flexibility definitely helps. So 4-3, here we go. What is the 5 cost going to be?
Oh boy. All right. I think we can live with this. Briar's certainly going to be able to make a pretty major impact. You can see we've got the items there on the bench waiting to be deployed. So we're getting the, of course, the Bruiser style play in there with a little bit of extra shielding as well. I think we can work with this.
Yeah, definitely a solo carry. You want one of those bruisers. I think, you know, Diana and Camille are the best ones. Briar probably in the 3rd best position here. Also finds the Nasus, so gets the 2 shapeshifters in the early game in. And, yeah, you could just pop those items on. A lot of times, yeah, the Titans and BT are definitely mandatory. IE is a little bit more suspect. I personally do like the Sterix a little bit more. But, you know, you got to make use of what you have here.
Well, yeah, I suppose at this point, you know, Briar's being asked to do a lot more of the carrying than perhaps you'd like. But hey, I mean, it's working right now, so it's a bold play being taken for Na'Vi. Things are looking okay, though, while we see as a team, again, we start to get a little nervous seeing 3 of them currently in the bottom 4. In terms of overall situation, Na'Vi seem to be doing better than we've seen them before against the Falcons.
Yeah, the HPs are very, very close. Even though there are 3 of them in the bottom 4, which is the blowout condition, I think they have a lot of win-out potential here with Jitpok and Sanyap. The key thing here we're going to have to look for is that if that Rise 2 or Nora 2 is online. So Sanyap actually hit the Nora 2. That's a huge find for him. And Rise 2 as well. Sanyap very possible to move up on the HP totem pool. Meanwhile, taking a look at Xiaoge, he's going to be going for the Callista kind of reroll plan. I don't see a lot of win-out potential on the side of Falcons. They did a good job pressuring, but now going into late stage 4, not sure how well they'll hold up.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. Again, you know, if we've established with Falcons, certainly at least against Na'Vi, a very distinct and clear avenue of attack. You know, sweep the leg very early on. Don't let Na'Vi find their feet. Well, it's been a little bit riskier, a little bit more fortune, a little bit more, you know, out there than maybe would have liked for Na'Vi. Ultimately, they stuck the landing so far. It feels like they're in a good spot to make this one work.
I love this strategy. This is exactly what Z10 pulled off against Fnatic. If you feel like you're outmatched individually and team-wise, why not go for an insurrection, guerrilla warfare type of style? Throw in the variants. They took Gambits with Fortune Favors the Bold with a golden quest. Now the big question is, can they actually make it pay off? And like I said, I feel like Sanyap has reached that a decent spot where he can stabilize. Of course, Rise is considered a little bit weaker of a 4 cost. This is a comp where you still need to go for level 9 to win out. I'm a huge Portal player. I like to go for the Xerath and the Tom Kench within it.
Well, let's start to zoom out a little bit as it's starting to seem like we can have some hope in Na'Vi here. You know, for the Falcons coming in as tournament favorites, for them to even be here in this match is a surprise. The fact that they, you know, dominated Na'Vi before, this feels like a best-case scenario here for Na'Vi. If they can get a convincing first-game win, they can show that they have managed to find a way to get past Falcons' guard and maybe tilt them for the series.
Absolutely, and taking a look at Here We Go's board right here, this is not a very strong board at the moment. Still stuck at level 6 going into stage 5. He has hit his critical 3 stars, of course, but as we've been mentioning, his job is to spoil the opposing team. And so far, Sanyap is running away with it.
All right, there's another comfortable win in there. Yeah, here we go, down to 12. Gosh, what a world it will be. Of course, the final insult here, the best case scenario for Na'Vi is the push 3 Falcons members out in the bottom 4, but maybe that's a little bit too much of a stretch.
Yep, Ice also losing out here. None of the rerolls really working out. Here we go, uncontested on the Kog'Maw, hits late. Ice going for a straight tempo strategy, not even trying to roll too deep on level 6 as we've seen. Spend most of his rolls here, and looking at his front line, it's very far away from being stable. That Mordekaiser not even 2-star.
No, missing a few of those incredibly important pieces, but yeah, we're living on a completely different planet for Falcons, especially if they take the first 2 losses. As you did note before, we have got a very volatile lobby all the way from 4th place down to currently 8th place. There's not a ton of HP in it, and win streaks and loss streaks are both hard to come by.
Yep, Jitpok on a 3-win streak, Sanyup on a 5-win streak. So it looks like Na'Vi has 2 players that are basically unstoppable. No one has been able to dent them so far. Now, maybe Chitu's board can do it. We haven't seen his board in a while, but I don't see Ice or Hirigo really having a shot at these 2, cap-out players on the side of Na'Vi.
No, we will see in this round. We'll keep our eye out for Here We Go as well. Because, yeah, this board looks like it's in a little bit of trouble. But on the other side, of course, we can see what we've been seeing more and more. You were calling for it before to see more focus on the forecast. The Karma coming in from Crazy on the Na'Vi side of things. Would love to rip through the board, and it looks like he's going to be able to manage it. The Karma is doing a lot of work, does get focused, gets a couple of shots off. The Syndra is good enough. Here we go, goes out. And for Na'Vi, that is the first step towards a very different series.
The spoil doesn't work. He gives up an augment, but still finds an out. What an incredible way to play the game. And honestly, this is something that I felt like Fnatic pioneered at this tournament, just playing around the portal vertical line. 6 portal, not even going for the 8, and trying to stabilize and scrap out placements. It definitely works if you're running into those low roll opponents.
Yeah, I mean, look, as we get deeper into this game, talk to me. Why you said you weren't necessarily super high on the rise from before. Where is this comp most weak then?
Well, it doesn't cap out particularly well unless you hit the 8 portal, and it's very hard to fit the entire board. The 6 portal is a rather weak trait. It only gives you the golems, and as you see here, the golems, they provide additional targets, but they're very, very low on HP. With 8, you get extra items from the portal, which a lot of times tank items will help your rise scale up. So I think it's more of a tempo gameplay. Fnatic, a lot of times where they're playing it, they're aiming for 3rds and 4ths, not necessarily going to first places.
Oh no, it looks like the pull, isn't quite there, I think.
Oh, Mordekaiser, another cast?
It's Sanyup will be taken out. That was a heroic attempt in the game, but ultimately the only thing he did was stayed out of 8th place. It felt like there could have been more.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. You don't really consider it a win-now type of composition, and that really changes the landscape quite a lot. I was expecting Ice to go 7th, and then, the rest of the 2 Falcon members would have to win out. But now with him, Sanyup going 7th, there's a lot more potential to play for.
Well, Ice and Shago both are low on HP, so it's still not out of the question. We could see a blowout in favor of Na'Vi, but Jitpok spending every single piece of gold in the inventory. Keep an eye out, of course, the Briar in place from the Golden Quest before. Should be able to provide a lot of disruption, as well as you said, taking a bigger risk by going heavier on the damage side of things. At least means there's a little less pressure on the Millie on the back.
Yeah, but Briar's already in the back line. Can Syndra actually finish the fob? No, and Ice
goes down. All right, we're starting to get into that miracle scenario. Jago is the last remaining piece into what would be a miracle game for Na'Vi. I would not have credited, I don't think anybody would have credited it. They could turn the tables and actually do the same thing that was done to them.
There was a lot of questionable starts coming out from the side of Na'Vi, but they all clawed it back. I love this win streak idea for the Golden Quest, a new flavor to play this augment. We've seen full loss streaks both times that it was selected here, but this time around, he uses the HP as a buffer, gets a late Briar coming into the composition, and his traits are just beautiful. The full left side of the traits are fully filled out. 4 Preservers, Warriors, plus a Briar.
I think that's one of the things that's really easy to miss when you first look at the Golden Quest as well. That you can just build up a strong, expensive board and then just sell the whole thing and immediately complete the quest just like that. I certainly like that a lot more as well. For Xiaoge, a lot of eyes on him. Of course, for Cheetu as well, up at the top. He may still do well in the lobby, but he's so reliant on his teammates staying alive.
I don't think Cheetu has the win-out board necessary. Even if Navi goes 4th here, it would still require Falcons to go 1-3 to win out the game. So it's looking incredibly difficult, and he might even team kill Xiaoge. If Xiaoge goes down, game is already mathematically over.
That would be a devastating way to go, but at least the Kalista does come in, and you can see when she finds her target, she can rip through it in a hurry. So enough of a mismatch there, making sure that the Falcon players stay alive. Crazy moving does go out, so we have a 2-2 top 4.
Yeah, but just a reminder here, it is a 2-point advantage in the bottom side. Navi going 5th and 7th, so they have 2 points here. It means that Cheetu or Xiaoge need to win. Someone needs to take out the Briar board from Jiphok, and it has happened before, but I'm not sure who's broke that streak yet.
So if I'm getting the maths right here, for Navi to win the game, they merely need to get 2 players into the top 3. Is that correct?
Yep. That's all they need. As long as they deny first, they actually just win. So not a terribly difficult win out. I just don't see who can take on the Preserver board. We're going to have to take a look at Xiaoge here. What upgrades does he have? He still has a chance for that Diana 2, a very strong carry, but at Diana 1, she is known for being a very weak 5 cost. Not enough HP to get into that backline. Ooh. However, perfect items on the Kalista.
Wow! All right, well, we might need to start revising our timetable a little bit here as Hugo goes out in 4th place. I mean, we would start to get really excited about this one. It's gone very differently than it's gone before, but not what Navi needed at all.
Xiaoge, the ace coming in here. So it's still very... Jiphok needs to hold on to this first. If he goes 2nd here, just 2nd, then Falcon would still win the game.
It's a lot of pressure on Jiphok. You can see as well, look in the right-hand side as the Dragon comes in to give us a few more items to fill out our inventories. Money has been spent in large part with Xiaoge on the win streak. Feels like he has got more potential heading into this very late game.
Key thing for Cheetu here is just try to deny as much as possible whatever Jiphok wants to carry. And for Xiaoge, he needs to find those big combat augments to come back. He has on a 4-win streak, but Jiphok is also on a 3-win streak. And he hasn't been able to find his upgrades. Very crucial upgrades in the Camille and Diana being missed right here. I would still give the edge to Jiphok. We don't know what combat charm he selected. But as we've mentioned, the win condition, Jiphok needs to hang on to that first.
All right, Xiaoge, let's see it once again. Of course, Sugarcraft building up, but not a massive wallet so far. So let's keep our eyes on the corners, of course, the Briar. Let's see where she ends up going through. Of course, yeah, with the one less defensive item, she's a little bit more vulnerable. The Kalista could end up targeting her, but Briar spending a lot of time unattended in the center, is able to cut through a lot of the other tanky presences. It's heading forward, but the Kalista cuts her to pieces. We've still got a fair amount of carries on the line though, and it looks like it's gonna be a good enough Jiphok. Hands on the L, the top 2 has been secured here.
Xiaoge goes out, and Cheetu is the weaker of the Falcon players here. That's a huge win for Jiphok. The hardest hurdle has already been crossed, and let's see what combat augments Cheetu can potentially pull here. Has no gold, no charm, and because he's using the Chalice, all of his backline carries are bunched up for that Briar to just eviscerate.
Jiphok's so close. It wasn't the blowout that I think Navi would have loved to see, but I think at this point, they would take their first ever victory against the Falcons here in an all-important decider match. One of these teams will be going forward to the quarterfinals, to the playoffs to face up against the Wolves, but one of them will be exiting the tournament entirely. The Briar is going for the backline, exactly as you said, Clement. It's a ripping, roaring success. Navi claim their first victory against the Falcons. I don't think anybody expected it.
And what a way to do it. A golden quest off of a win streak position. Finding all of the necessary upgrades there as well, going a little bit later into the game. Warrior Preserver lines with a giant Briar in front, just too much for the side of Falcons to handle. And this is something that I was worried for the Falcons team. They spend a lot of energy at trying to deny the enemy team, trying to make sure that they go 8th and 7th. They did so with Sanyap here, but unfortunately, no one could outcap the likes of Jitbok.
Yeah, I was absolutely with you there with having the whole fortune grief situation. It feels like that's such a burden on the team, but to be able to come back from that anyway, to find the incredibly narrow path through the crevasse of taking on a team, which again, everybody expected coming into the tournament to be the one to go through and take the entire event. For Na'Vi, this is a breath of air finding their lungs finally. To start the series this way, they couldn't have asked for more.
Yeah, and they're one game away from making the largest upset so far at EWC TFT. All of the Korean teams still in the running. What an amazing set of players from this region.
I love seeing and look at Na'Vi here. They are very solemn for a team that just won an incredibly hard match. You see just relief on their face. Honestly, I can't wait for this rest of the series.
That's the key here. When faced up against a team like Falcon, you have to take some gambles. Go for the Golden Quest. Know you're going to get a bruiser carry for your Stage 4 and Stage 5. Sanyap doing a good job not going 8th here, despite Here We Go griefing him. That ends up being a +1 on the side of Na'Vi. Great pivot towards the portal vertical line. And for Falcons, you know, they had some win-out players in Xiaoge, but it just wasn't enough. The low rolls kind of dragged everything down. Here We Go, you know, uncontested on the Kog'Maw reroll, couldn't find any purchase there, and Ice as well.
All right, so looking forward to game 2, of course, for Na'Vi. You know, it feels like the biggest problem there was, you know, the fortune catch-up, but anything else you want to see either team really dramatically change for game 2?
Well, I just want to see, you know, them going for maybe more of a late game playstyle for Falcons. A lot of it is about judging the tempo. You want to be just a tiny step slower than your opponent.
All right, gentle friends, we have our way out. The Lord's Tournament Al Habib Showdown will continue after the break. We'll see you for game 2.
New adventures bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease won't stand a chance. With new Clear Men, powered by triple formula technology. To eliminate dandruff, itch, and grease, gives you 8 hours of freshness and 100% dandruff-free hair. New Clear Men, 0% dandruff, 100% confidence.
Welcome back, one and all, to the Esports World Cup. We are coming to the second game of what is already a shocking series. Na'Vi getting their first victory against the Team Falcons. I don't think anybody saw it coming, and the way it happened as well.
Unbelievable play coming out from Jipak, really reviving his career. He's been off the international stage for a while, but coming back with such a huge roar. He has the highest AVP on the team and is the designated ace, the win-out player coming in from Team Na'Vi.
And for anyone tuning in late, of course, we saw when these two teams faced each other before in the group stages, it was a blowout in favor of the Falcons, pushing Na'Vi out in the bottom four repeatedly and ruining their day. It wasn't completely the flipped picture, but it was a fight to the very finish, and it was a fight that Na'Vi won.
Jipak able to get that Briar with the Golden Quest on 4-3 still relatively early, changed the face of the game. It was looking like Schalke might run away with it, but he hit the Briar, as we were mentioning. So important not to hit something like the Smolder or the Milio here. And I just can't believe it. A Golden Quest, it's been 3 for 3. Every time it's been selected, it has been a win out.
I'm starting to think it might be a good augment. I mean, I think you point out really well. We saw not just the augment being strong, but a different approach to that augment, playing strong. I like that so much more than what we saw the first two times, where players are being reduced down to around 5 HP and then using that legendary to come back. In this case, we're playing strong, and then we're just getting stronger.
This is definitely the most comfortable spot that we've seen. You know, 5 HP yesterday from Honglian and 8 HP from Soji before they finally climbed into the win out situation. Being able to recognize that I've been banking up gold to level or reroll, and then just getting the Golden Quest for the extra gold. I think that's just so important. This is a big reason why you do not press F a lot of the times. A lot of times you want to sit on that gold, especially in 4v4 situations where that extra gold that's not, you know, over 50, not generating interest. You can use it to deny. You can just sit on it for Golden Quest. Don't spend it. I know my trigger finger always presses the F because I'm kind of slow, but you can see the win out here.
I mean, I certainly know in other games, teams have had certain players have their keys removed from the keyboard to keep them from such terrible things, but let's get into it once again. This time we will not be seeing any golden preludes or golden finishes to give us a minimal variation game. Ascending augments, I suppose, is the closest we can get.
I've got to say, this is starting to get sweaty for Falcons here because,
Ooh.
Okay, they won the portal judge. The other two portals, honestly, are very high variance. When you have treasure golems, it's going to be, in the late game, you know, 9 potentially tailored items across the board, and you don't know what items you're going to get. A lot of fights are just down to RNG from the golems. The same thing with ascending augments, where you have prismatics at the very end, which could determine your stage 4, stage 5 chances. So this is huge for Falcons. I think they can breathe a sigh of relief, getting that just, you know, extra +1 here. Don't need to worry too much about the variance.
So let's kind of recap, you know, the story so far really here. So we know that Falcons, they like to be able to strike early, strike hard, and drive their opponents out of the game before they get really established. I assume with more units on the board, thanks to these Tacticians crowns, that is going to be fairly possible, you know, to get these big wins in early on while we're maintaining a good amount of units on the board.
Yeah, of course, I think the biggest one would be Multi-Strikers. Multi-Strikers is a line that a lot of people actually like to reroll on level 7 because you can fit in double Pyro plus double Arcana. But now with this additional Tactician's Crown, you could actually just reroll at level 6. So I think Multi-Striker is probably the comp that benefits the most out of this type of setup. Outside of the reroll comps, if you want to go verticals, that extra slot also helps a lot. Helps you hit those, you know, potential win out. You know, you could fit in 10 Eldritch at level 9, for
That's true,
instance.
that's huge.
You know, those really crazy scenarios could happen as well.
All right, we're waiting with bated breath to see what kind of orgs we get. Of course, in so many of other games, we've known what's coming for here. You know, we pointed out right back at the beginning of the series, one of the points where we saw the Falcons be weak is when Prismatics came in, but it won't be this time. We do see an interesting augment on the right-hand side there, if we're talking about, you know, trying to make any kind of lost streak work.
We do have Jipak already set up for a Scholar Bastion line, well, a Vanguard line in this instance with the upgraded Warwick. So I don't really expect the Scoreboard Scrapper to be picked up. He's really looking for Spell Blades. That would be his best option. Combat Casters is not bad. Scholars do cast a lot as well.
You know, I definitely like the combat caster there for the Vanguards. Of course, the extra durability while shielded, applying in that case as well. Pumping up's going to be a little bit tempting as well. But we do know, again, the Falcons are so deadly in the early going that I'm always wary of anything that takes a while to come online.
Ooh, there is a big question here, whether Here We Go is going to play Spoiler once more. He does have the Spell Blades, which is exactly what this composition wants to do. Jitbok, of course, scouting outside. This is going to be huge for him because the Tactician's Crown will allow you to reroll much earlier on. You know, you don't have to go for the later levels to fit in most of your Bastion characters here. So it's quite good for the low reroll lines as well. It's just going to come down to see if Here We Go is actually going to try to contest him again. Here We Go now on the oh no, that's Sanyup on the other side, going with the double down. Ooh.
All right, I'm absolutely here for it. I mean, we certainly saw that Sanyup likes to play a little bit close to the sun, but hey, if you can make it work, so keep an eye out on the right-hand side to see who gets that early start in here. Of course, having some Thieves Gloves online is always a good way to make it work. Hugo going in here early on for a little bit of our B friends. I think it would certainly make sense as well. Wouldn't much at all hurt to have that slightly stronger board, especially, you know, we just mentioned the early 2 stars. Going to be massively impactful.
So one thing I do want to mention with this setup is he could potentially go for vertical Honeymancer if he finds there is a charm that actually breaks apart your items. And the way you get the Honeymancer is you just need the glove plus the Tactician's plus the spatula. So that's a potential win out for him. I know it's very far in the future, but I got my crystal ball.
I like the theory
potentials.
Well, we'll see. I mean, certainly, you know, for our players, that's got to be in their mind, just saying here, again, you know, to bring back from the first series, we are expecting to see Na'Vi take the roads less traveled through this series to try and survive 2 playoffs. So I don't think anything is off the table here in terms of, you know, no matter how obscure a strategy, no matter how risky, I'm certain Na'Vi will consider it.
Absolutely. And Schalke, on the other hand, we see Falcon once again going for maximum pressure on their side. I saw 2 support golems coming out and also 2 healthy, so a lot of early combat power. Sanyup is pretty much forced to go on the full loss streak. Again, when you're playing with Here We Go, it's always a bit dicey. He's also on a 2 loss streak. Sanyup's like, not again, please.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we could argue that at least this is familiar territory. I mean, let's check in with Crazy. Maybe we can see, of course, you mentioned the support guns going to be incredibly powerful as well. We've also got the Zarok coming in, so just a sheer amount of units on the board should let this Syndra get a good amount of stacking in early on.
Plenty of bodies being here available to kind of drag the fights out. I love the point that you just mentioned. 2 extra frontliners for every team does mean extra stacking time for the Syndra. So she's going to be online a lot faster. Typically, when you get like 150 stacks on stage 5, Syndra then transcends into a 5-cost character. Not even 2 cost. not that mundane. Much more powerful.
Yeah, well, in this case, though, it's looking like it's not actually, even with all those bodies, it's still not quite enough to keep Crazy moving alive. So Jitbok getting a well-asked-for win there. Of course, that combat caster being used for a little bit more versatility. So coming out of the early going, Jitbok, again, we saw from before, doing some amazing stuff. Taking first place, is currently the only full win-streaking player in the lobby.
Yeah, again, being the main carry for the team right here. On the other side, we're taking a look at some of the boards we haven't touched on. Ice going to go for the multi-striker line. This is what I was talking about. I really feel like the Tactician Crown favors that line the most just because of how crucial Arcana and Pyro are for the rest of the composition. From the other sides, we do have Chitu just going for standard AP. Gwinsu's being built here, just looking for Syndras. We have seen Falcon mainly be a team that's happy to play 2 Syndra players, make sure there are no runaway Syndras, and they're happy to play things like the Wukong Syndra or just go into more of like a Karma strategy.
Yeah, and I think just that raw versatility, the way the set is designed to have so many interlocking pieces here means that just there's every different frontline in creation to make sure that your Syndra stays alive. Crazy with the Gwinsus and the Shojin as well. This, again, should be building up towards those big numbers we're talking about up against Ice. We'll see how well the multi-strikers do, because we've got ourselves the CC immunity for the Kastan as well as the Ginsu is in place already. This is looking very promising.
Yeah, great finds on the side of multi-strikers, and it does seem he's completely uncontested. I didn't see any other potential multi-striker lines coming out on the other side. Maybe there will be some chances to deny here, but Jitbok is going to lose that 100 HP spot. Big blow. On the other hand, can Sanyup keep his lose streak going? He has that double down, so it's very important for him to dodge. Here we go. Oh no, not here we go again. He's every lost streak player's nightmare.
I mean, it's, yes, as you say, it's literally there to play spoiler. In this case, you can see, here we go, actually doesn't have too weak of a board. You mentioned a Spell Blade in place there for the time being. So we look between the two of them. It looks like it should be a pretty one-sided competition if they do actually come face to face.
The only character he's not selling is that Syndra. Everything else can go, and
right.
everything else is going.
That Syndra goes right to the front line. It's 3 versus 1 and a
3 versus
bit.
2, 3 versus 2, but there is a good Rage Blade.
It
oh my god.
How long the Syndra stays up. Oh no! Not like this!
Not again!
Okay.
Not again.
That's very bad news. Admittedly, Na'Vi did get past this one. It's not quite as crushing as it would have been with the Fortune, Augur from before. Maybe we see the comeback again, but yeah, face to face. This is what I love the most about the 4v4 format, honestly. The players playing towards the bottom are the ones who play the most unusual TFT.
I just feel like it's so funny that this Falcons team is so good, they have a designated trash man. He might be the bin himself, but he's taking you out with him. Oh man, 2 games in a row. Here we go. From the ropes, crushing the augments here. Double up, double down does give you twice the streak gold here. You break that big lose streak. You're not going to see the 5 loss streak going in. That's +2 gold. He would have gotten 4 gold on the PvE rounds and even more later on. So a massive change of direction with that unfortunate fight rotation.
Well, here we go, as you said. The trash man, come off the trash man, take away everything you love in this world. But honestly, I think with the 4v4 format evolving, we will see more and more specialities coming like that. Just play to the player's strength. And especially, when it can deal such a powerful body blow to the other team, it's a good investment.
What are you good at? Oh, I'm really good at crushing hopes and dreams of the opposing team.
That sounds terrifying. I want that player on my team.
Yeah, but not by outpacing them, but just like,
Details. Details.
I'm actually better at losing than they are. What an amazing playstyle.
I think what it is, here we go, comes in and says to the opposing team, I'll teach you how to lose.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder than me.
Take notes from the master, okay? Last second sell off of the entire board, even keeps his Syndra there to get potentially a couple more stacks. What an epic play on that end. And, Jipok running into his teammate. He hasn't rolled just yet. He's leveling to 5 next, so it doesn't look like the Scholar Bastions is going to be the play. Probably doesn't feel that comfortable with the amount of copies he naturaled here, so just going to play for a more standard win-out strategy.
All right, come to 3-2. It will be the Prismatic, and again, you noted before, from the Falcon side of things, if they low-roll these low-roll these augments, this could be a point where we could see Na'Vi taking serious control of the game.
If you are on the side of Falcons, you do not want variants. It's like, nope, please no, please no, just standard game. Silver augments are the best. We'll take all of them. The Prismatics ones is exactly how they lost to Toronto in Game 3 after they decimated Toronto in Game 2. So, I hope they keep their mental, their wits with them, and see what they get here. Here we go is going to go for the new recruit.
So +2 units on the board. I mean, if we are looking for these massive numbers of potential losses being handed out, I mean, admittedly, here we go, is not handing out too many losses in this game, but still a lot of bodies on the board. Maybe Here We Go has got something special in mind.
I think he's going to go with something like Preservers and Arcana, make the most use of those extra slots for units you have in your board, in your army. There aren't a lot of team-wide traits this set, so everything is very focused into the Arcana and the Preserver lines.
All right, Shago on the other side will be helping Here We Go along his journey towards keeping that loss streak intact. Though the double Rage Blade on the Syndra makes me think, maybe there's something spicy. Xiaoga right now has a win streak, and he's going to lose it to his teammate.
Yeah, and Xiaoga's spot looks pretty dire. He's actually rolled down to 10 gold and hasn't found many of the Kog'Maws, which is what his build is aiming for. Already has the Last Whisper and the Shojin, so... Oh, this is the reason why. We got some trash mans on the other team too. Let's go.
Well, maybe that's the thing. Maybe Here We Go is too good of a teacher and has passed his techniques along one way or the other. But Yeah, well, I mean, this is what we saw from the days before. Contesting in this competition certainly is not going to end out well for either player. But for Hugo, on the 5-round win streak, he's making it work. Certainly that front line is looking extremely impressive.
Yeah, and I did want to mention that this is one of those comps that works really well with the Tactician's Crown as well. Typically, you have full closed circuit of traits on level 7 with this composition. You get the Tristana in, Blaster fits with your Rumble in the front line, you get double Vanguard, and also the Hunter lines coming in here. So, this is one of those, I think, interesting places to play. And if I'm Na'Vi and I'm trading Yugo for Schalke, I consider that a massive win.
Yeah, I would absolutely take that trade any day of the week. We see that Yugo continues his streak. Again, we look down the rest of the table, we're not seeing streaks remotely this side, so good news for Na'Vi, but of course, the reminder again with the 4v4 format, we need to see at least another player looking strong.
There's a huge pickup in the Karma right here. Let's see if the new recruits player can pick up out here from Here We Go. It's already sitting on 1 Karma. And it's going to be, I believe, Chi2 that picks that one up. One of the most sought after forecasts. Let's take a look at Chi2's board here.
He's running Prismatic Ticket and his encounters overall. So I can see this working out very well.
Yeah, Syndra Vanguard. Definitely you could fit that Karma in there too. Yugo, even though he's very far ahead, I don't think you can be the win-out player given the composition limitations of Kog'Maw. So I think a lot of options are still up in the air here. Chi2 rolling down deep. He's kept his options open, actually fielding the Wukong at the same time, but he doesn't have the critical Wukong items. Wukong doesn't really function as well without the armor and resistance. The Druid trait gives you plus 30% on those.
Yeah, and that's how it can end up being such a ridiculously strong front line. Chi2 for the time being will have to settle. I mean, at least he's on a lost streak, but of course, incredible items for the Syndra on the back line. Even if the Wukong isn't fully online as of yet. We'll see how Sangyup is able to turn things around. He's on a lost streak himself, of course, heavily motivated to stay that way. The multi-strike, as you mentioned from before.
I just want to point out how critical Here We Go actually was. Sangyup is on the 3 loss streak, which means the only fight he's won was with Here We Go.
Yes.
If that fight didn't happen, he would be rolling in so much gold.
Well, I mean, Sangyup did recover in the previous game to at least, stand on his feet. We'll see. I mean, he's got a good amount of money in the bank at the moment. In fact, across most of the field, we're not spending as aggressively as we could be. We see the extra gold flowing in there. We have got that movable object, that huge bonus across the field. The portal, of course, giving you the extra defensive prowess as well. I don't know. From Sangyup's side of things, it looks like we've maybe got a rise in the future if we can get that far.
Yeah, it depends on what we see out of the rest of the hits right here. I think he's going to go for a level 8 strategy. Callista Flex has been a very popular composition. What we've seen is people just play with the Nasus, play with the Akali in. You activate the 3 multi-striker early. You have the best tank in the game. And it's been really working out since, there's no Syndra outcap. A lot more breathing room for these 4-cost tempo comps.
Well, here we go from Spoiler to a powerful player of his own right. Look at how quickly ripping through the board here. It's not even a little bit close. Sangyup down to sub 30 HP.
Yeah, he's going to have to be bailed out by a big roll down on stage 4 here. Aiming for the Callistas. I think the portal line that we've seen before doesn't really work out if you haven't found your Noras. That's usually the condition. You hit a level 8 Nora, then it's opened. But in this spot, most likely going to be Callista Flex. Ice, as we were talking about, being able to roll deep on level 6. And you can see his traits right here, really beautiful. When I was talking about it, a lot of players actually like to roll on level 7 because you can activate Pyro, team-wide buff, Arcana, also a team-wide buff, especially with the damage reduction coming in on the Hecarim is very important for this line. But now with the Tactician's Crown, you can actually do so on level 6. So a huge find there for Ice. He's already on 4 win streak, and he has a Radiant item on that Kassadin.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely get a chance to come back to Ice again because he's on a win streak right now and rocking through the top of the table. But Sangyup, things are looking a little dicey here. He's going to start rolling, hoping to find, she said, to get the portal online. Does at least find Emilio and the Briar as well.
He's keeping the fairies in for this. 6 fairy gives you an extra item in the front line.
Well, I mean, we've got the Spatula as well.
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
Sangyup digging down deep here in the table. Of course, we are seeing 3 Na'Vi players in the bottom 4 at the moment, which of course It's the way quickly out of this game. If Sangyup can turn things in perhaps this round, we can start to be a bit more optimistic.
This is the best tempo play you could potentially make. When you hit 6 fairy, you get an extra item in the fairies. I kind of forget the item.
Queen's Guard.
Oh, the guard or something?
I believe it's the Queen's Guard, but certainly
yeah, the Queen's Guard.
It's letting the Kalista to heal the Rakan in the center. You see, he stays up for an awful long time. I'm not sure we get the win here. But no, maybe
1v1?
we do. Oh, no, Sangyup. Okay, calculated. The smallest loss he could have taken. Maybe he gets his way on his feet now as the last augment comes in.
He's not going to go for the reinforcement. A low rolls heroic grab back, not going to save him either. Going to go for another support item, and he actually wins out. That was so close. That was last option possible. Gets the extra attack speed on the back line for his Aegis. The question is, can he hold on? That if he doesn't find the Kalista too, the Queen Guard doesn't even help that much. Just one copy left. Camille is a huge find here.
All right.
Could swap out the Briar. I was going to go for the Caston now.
No. Oh, wait, there we... Okay.
Oh, he found it. Everything needed.
2 comes along at once. We see, here we go, coming to the board and saying, okay, maybe you're going to be more of a fight than we thought.
Massive find here. Great find on the augments. Great job on hitting that Kalista too. And in this position, he could take out that Caston really early. It's the start of the focus here, and I don't think that Caston actually has healing unless he goes to 7.
No, but he walked right up to Kalista, gets exploded. Caston with everything you could ask for apart from healing. Cannot stand the fairies running rampant, and Ice takes the L. He was the big win-streaking player for the Falcons, and now from the bottom of the table, Sangyup rises again.
A critical find right there. That could have been a very hard position to salvage, and just breaking Ice's win streak, what a cherry on top. And you know, you have to look at Ice's build. It doesn't really have that much staying power at this stage. He's aiming to go with that 7 multi-striker, and you get the extra healing that way. But for now, he's not in that strong of a position.
Well, one thing I did want to bring up, the double down, of course. Yeah, we saw the Fortune Emblem from Fortune Augment from before, yeah, where you need to keep the loss streak in place. So double down, you can turn that into a major win streak and get your goal that way.
Oh, you definitely can, but you're going to have to turn it like 180 around. It's not going to be particularly easy, but this is a team kill scenario potentially coming up. Not the best items on that Kog'Maw, though. No 80 items whatsoever, so I still think, yeah, Sangyup is going to stay alive here.
Yeah, stay alive in good fashion. I mean, imagine you go probably weaken the board a little bit anyway, or kept the positioning. But for Sangyup, again, he's going to start building up gold in a hurry as long as he can keep that win streak going. 13 HP means he will not get many chances, if any, to make any kind of mistake. We see the distance, though, between Here We Go and Sangyup. It did just drop a little bit with with Chitu dropping down into 7th place. It's a long way for Sangyup to get out of 8th, though.
Yeah, taking a look here at the 5 cost, that Morgana looking very juicy on the board. Of course, Ice looking for that Camille, not really going to find it here on the carousel. And then we have Xiaoge in the top 2, going for a 4 Hunter line. I'm surprised Xiaoge has so much HP, given that he's contested from Yugal as heavily as he is here. I expect him to start dropping a little bit in terms of the HP rounds. That's what happens typically with the Kog'Maws.
Ooh. Okay, we'll check him back in with Chitu's step. Trying to build up a little bit of steam here. We're 1 away from the Wukong 3. We're none away from the Wukong 3. All right. So this should be a massive amount of time coming in. We've got the item collector as well for a little bit more grunt across the team.
Oh,
and we've got,
perfect item.
Yeah, the Gargoyles comes in. This is a rock-solid front line.
It might not look like it right now because Chitu is at 7th place in terms of the HP, but he is going to be the win-out player on Falcons here. I don't think Xiaoge has that potential. Ice maybe. All it comes down to, though, is that damage. How many stacks can Syndra actually power through? Only a 2-star Syndra right here, 2 copies away. The thing about Kalista, though, is that she's a very slow character against solo tanks. It takes a long time. But in terms of general board strength, I think Sangyup is still going to win out here.
Yeah, looking good. But yeah, it took a while to get through that Wukong, but even at 3-star was not good enough. So Sangyup, you'll start to see that number creep up as long as he does not take the L and get knocked out of the game. From Jiphok on the other side, of course, looking to try and climb his own way up. Right now, the Falcons, they've got two very good positions for Ice and Schalke at the top. Over 70 HP in the bank.
Schalke only missing one copy of the Kog'Maw, still trying to look for it. Filtering as much as possible. I think Cheetu is the most critical here. If Cheetu gets that Syndra 3, he's in great spot to win out the entire game. Turn that lose streak, a potential 7th place to a 1st place. That would be a massive swing in the points, a 6-point swing. Doesn't look like Cheetu has hit so far.
If you're tuning in a little bit late here, you would not know that this is the second game between these two, Na'Vi and Falcons. They're both playing for a place in the playoffs. They played each other before in groups, and it was a very one-sided affair with Falcons taking everything for themselves. In this series, it has been very different indeed. Na'Vi taking the first round victory. If they can get a second, they're through to playoffs immediately. But the Falcons, they're giving us everything they have.
Now Schalke gonna survive with his 3 stars here. On the other hand, the other Kog'Maw player gonna fall down to the Karma for cosplay. And Cheetu does find his Syndra 3. That's absolutely massive.
Wow.
If he didn't find that, I think he was guaranteed gonna go out just in 7th.
Yeah, I mean, you see the amount of gold he's got left over. It wasn't an easy find by any means.
And we've been talking about this. A lot of teams have been fielding double Syndra players. In this game, it was actually double Kog'Maw players. So he had the opportunity to go for this Syndra 3 here. Big win out condition. Taking a look at his board, he just needs to fill out on the preservers.
So we've got 2 players on lowest HP right now. With Cheetu getting the Syndra 3, you put him directly up against Sangyup. Which one of these two can survive to 7th place at least?
It's going to be very hard to say. There's a lot of factors going into this. For Sangyup, there's a huge win-out potential coming in. We're going into stage 5. You could get just a spatula from Charms. And 9 Fairy is very much on the cards. Radiant items coming down for that composition with the additional, tankiness from his Aegis and his Randuins. I think that could be a very, very strong turnaround position for him. Right now, it doesn't look like it so far. And, for Ice, he's looking for 7 multi-strikers. So we're on just one step away for a lot of these players to turn the corner and be unstoppable.
Well, let's see if Cheetu can live up to the hype. The 3-star Syndra is in place. Sangyup, of course, just below on the win streak as well. This should be pretty good. Yugol, I don't think it's in the same weight class right now. We can see the Wukong is almost full health by the end of the round. I think Cheetu doesn't need to have anything to worry about for the time being.
Yeah, this is what happens with Kog'Maws in the later phases. Whenever you're playing Kog'Maw, you're just trying to make sure the opposing Kog'Maw places lower than you. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Schalke is still very, very healthy here. Yugol, he had a 3-star front line, but that was his Voidling.
Oh boy, 3 Na'Vi players in low position. Tristana coming in, but she's not itemized. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous for Na'Vi because 3 members on probably a single life there. We could still see the blowout return.
Actually gets another Voidling onto his board. I was like, what magic trick is that? That actually hits the charm for it. Okay, so a lot of combat augments could shape the face of the game. We have 3 Na'Vi players in the bottom 3, but the Falcon players are only 17 HP here. So very close situation. Of course, it's still much more precarious for Na'Vi because 17 HP, you're not really going to go down in one fight.
No.
Team fight situation for Jipak.
I think Yugol survives this round. He's still taking out a fair few units. We'll keep things updated. Of course, Sangyup at the bottom.
Oh, that's exact KO. That's exact KO. No. Oh, so unlucky. If he just was able to kill 1 more unit, he would be okay. But on stage 5, you lose 10 HP base. So very unfortunate.
All right, so we are looking, of course, if another Na'Vi player goes out in the bottom 2, then it will be requiring a top 2 to be able to close the series. Certainly from what we're seeing right now, Falcons seem to recover themselves as the effectively 4-item Kassadin, including, as you mentioned before, the Radiant Nash in there. He should be unstoppable as long as he doesn't get focused down too early again.
This is the knock-on effect here. Because Yugol was holding on to 3 Kassadins, once he goes out, Ice is able to hit. I think he's a very strong win-out position. I think all of the strongest win-out positions now belong to Team Falcon.
We'll keep an eye on the right-hand side to see if Crazy is knocked out. I think it looks like we've got Karma doing enough work. to keep things alive. We do see one elimination there.
Crazy also out here. That means Na'Vi has to 1 and 2 with only 41 total HP on their boards. Tough task ahead of them.
I mean, to be fair, as much as it wasn't on our expectation to see Na'Vi win the first game, I think expecting them to 2-0 the series was even more outlandish. If anything, at this point, it feels a little bit like Na'Vi might start thinking about this third game and still trying, still knowing they've got the one in the bank they can use.
They still have a pretty good shot here, as we were talking about. Sanyap's win condition is, there's a lot of different charms. You could break apart the Tactician's Crown. You could get an extra spatula or something. I think those are the big win out conditions. If you're just sitting on 13 HP with 6 Fairy, I'm not sure that's going to carry you across the finish line here. Taking a look at Xiaoge's board, I think he played the HP preservation game perfectly here, It was a Tactician's Crown, so he could fit everything on level 7, make sure he just stays ahead of Yugal, and at the very least, it looks like he's going to get at least a 3-point advantage over his opposing Kog'Maw player.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Sanyap. Of course, again, as you said, top 2 required here for Na'Vi to pull off a miracle. Here we go. Of course, honestly, at this point, I think we'll be very happy with everything he's been able to accomplish in this game, down to a single HP. The board is pretty solid. The Hunters from Xiaoge's side of things, they're slowly chewing through. We can see that our friend Nunu is lasting an awful long time, but Nami makes such a mess of these clumped backliners, and here we go, we'll hang on for even longer.
The Trash Man stays alive! Oh my, Here We Go is such a hero this game. It proves that not all heroes wear capes. You don't have to win out every time. You can just break the streaks. Yeah, look, he's hanging on 1 HP. That 1 HP is a 2-point difference.
No, for sure. I mean, here we go. I think it's, if anything, going to be has done so much for the squad. As we see, Sanyap, we worried about that before, maybe not so much now, but Jitpop becomes the focus of concern for Na'Vi, down to a single life with no money in the bank. If he goes down, this is done.
Absolutely. Chitu, already a very strong board. Sanyap, I think it's going to rotate into him. I believe this is Sanyap's board. Yep. Going into it, we have seen a lot of upgrades. Only that Milio being picked up, and these are not good Milio items. Red buff is not bad, but Infinity Edge could have been a little bit better. Let's see if the Kalista on the same side as the Syndra is going to be able to go into the backline and take her out. If the damage goes down...
Oh, Jitpok on the right-hand side, though, he's getting overrun. And that by itself ends the game there and then. No top 2 for Na'Vi. We will see ourselves a third game as Falcons... they almost get into the position of having the dominant enough top 4 to win anyway.
What a fun game to witness right here. The Tactician Crown's really opening up a lot of those lines, the level 6 reroll lines that can round out their traits on level 7. So we saw the multi-striker from Ice coming out very strong. Xiaoge and Yugal both going for the Kog'Maw reroll line with full traits onto level on a level 7 board as well, just being very well played. And Chitu going super low, but critically finding the core pieces here in that Syndra 3. I think this game was much closer than we actually have seen.
Yeah, I mean, even though it sort of falls within the technical bounds of being a blowout in favor of the Falcons, I do agree that it was very hard for... I am really astonished we're in a world where the Syndra 3 could come online, but this is kind of one of the things I was worried about, that, we move past the point where everyone assumes that Syndra is going to be played widely, and in that one situation where she's not, suddenly she's back to being a monster again.
I just want to ask production, can we give the MVP to the lowest AVP player? Can we give it to Here We Go?
I'm with you. I am with you there. You're making the biggest impact on the game. It's not about where you finish, it's about how well your team does.
Yeah, it's all about the relative positions on the squad here. If you deny a player from going into the first place, if you can make a couple of players placed lower than you are, that's all you need. Not everyone has to win out in this 4v4 format. And it's just so fun to see the diversification of roles. You have that designated lose streak grief player coming out from Falcons. It's just amazing. It's so consistent too. It's been every single game.
It just doesn't seem like it would make sense on paper, does it? Because again, that would be one of the core principles.
Yeah, you think that someone else would have a spot, you know? They've actually played a lot of games already. It's been 7 games, and it's just like one player doing all the trash man work.
I suppose if we kind of flip it around and look at it from the other side, though, you can always choose to lose. Whatever your start is, even if it is a great start for Here We Go, maybe just being so good at this particular role is worth any potentially strong start he might otherwise be playing.
For sure, for sure. And I do have to commend Sanyap as well. Both of his early loss streak strategies actually were broken, but he still managed to top 4 in the end. So it's really proving to me that you can play for a later game plan in these series, especially against a team like Falcons that is so heavy on tempo early. If you just full open, you take the damage, you go massive econ, then you can come back and outcap.
Sanyap will retire in 3rd place there after heroic showing. I'm absolutely, if for the rest of the Na'Vi squad, if they were just able to push that little bit further through, I think Sanyap absolutely, came back, again got griefed. I do think there's a world in which, we start to say, okay, we can't necessarily afford to take these early losses, to get knocked out. I mean, as Falcon do the victory lap here with 2 remaining members, Cheeto, of course, taking the place of honor with an 8-round win streak. What do you think this 3rd game is going to look like?
I actually think the strategy from Na'Vi is pretty much set. You have the player that's dead set on just full loss streak into higher cap as a player. We've seen this twice already from Sanyap. And I think it's a good strategy against a team like Falcon that's so heavy on the tempo and whatnot. And we have to stress again how close this game actually was. Here we go, only surviving on 1 extra HP for 2 additional fights, gets +2 points here.
All right. Well, as we look at our players, we see the fist bumps coming through. Falcons, we return back to more familiar hunting grounds from them. That was a very, very solid looking game number 2. And at least it means we have a 3rd game in the series to look forward to.
And I have to mention, it's not possible to play man-on-man defense every single game. There's no way that Here We Go is going to be able to deny Sanyap once again, right?
I mean, you say that. There's
There's no way. That would be unjustified.
I don't think that's going to stop him. I mean, it's been working. Why change the thing that has been working so well?
True.
I mean, of course, in each one of these team strategies, we've got the interlocking parts coming together. And even, we saw in the first game, even when for Na'Vi not all of them were firing in all cylinders, it can still work out as long as you know what you're going in for.
Taking a look at the highlights of this game, great line selection here coming in from Ice playing that uncontested multi-strikers. I was a bit worried on the non-radiant item, but it works out. Cheeto with a huge find here, could have gone 8 very easily, but gets the final 2 Syndras and Yukon.
All right, gentle friend, the Esports World Cup presenting Teamfight Tactics. We are just coming in to our final game between Na'Vi and the Falcons. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes' time.
Hey everybody, it's Quickshot here from EWC Central. Today we close out the group stage and kick off the quarterfinals in the EWC presenting Teamfight Tactics tournament. So let's find out how this impacts the EWC Club Championship update brought to you by SDC. Well, I've got big news for all fans of T1. Over in Group C, the team has secured their spot in the top 8. And together with their title in League of Legends in Week 1, the club has now become eligible for the Club Championship. They have at least 1,060 points. They are already in 5th place in the standings. Now for Fnatic, this is turning out to be a week to forget. Fnatic to forget, that's a great line. Coming into week 6, they had teams in all 3 games, and they've already been eliminated in Teamfight Tactics and in Fortnite. That gets them a gigantic donut. Now, at the top of the overall standings, Team Falcons and Na'Vi are still fighting for their tournament lives today, looking to secure those important points in the top 5 race. Just outside of my top 10, we have Team Vitality and Toronto Ultra, who have already secured their ticket to quarterfinals. They are looking strong to secure more points, and maybe, if they make a deep run, join the illustrious graphic that I talk so much about. If you're interested in any more updates about the EWC Club Championship or any of the games happening this weekend or any weekend, why don't you tune into EWC Central? We run from 3 until 7 at twitch.tv/EWC and youtube.com/EWC. And that does it from me. Quick shot and this edition of the EWC Club Championship update brought to you by STC.
We've had another series completed over on the B stream. Branching Out versus GK Esports is done. Now, Branching Out, of course, already had a bit of a mental edge over GK because last time these guys battled it out, it was 2-0. Some key points here. Branching Out is using alternative strategies like Tactician Crown, Zoe Reroll, Six Sugarcraft, and Cassio Carry. GK did dominate mid-game, pushing 2 Branching Out players to 7th and 8th in Game 2, and both teams are using the flexible augment in the last game. Volteriux played Mage Syndra, while Vincere played Witchcraft Karma, which are both very strong in the meta. Branching Out just simply excels at securing first place, which is, of course, crucial in this 4v4 format and showcasing a high-win French playstyle. They booked their spot, and they will be in the quarterfinals.
Welcome back, one and all, to the Esports World Cup presents Teamfight Tactics. We have one more game to go in this, our second of our 4 series presenting here today. Na'Vi versus the Falcons. One of the tournament favorites in the Falcons, bringing us to a game number 3 after a shocking Game 1 defeat.
And I would not have it any other way. I enjoy Falcons' play so much. I enjoy the strategy coming out from Na'Vi. This going the distance, I think it's a treat.
Absolutely. I'm honestly a little disappointed for Na'Vi in the second game. They weren't able to finish out a little harder than they did. Ultimately, with 3 of the players ending in the bottom 4, we are uncomfortably reminded of the echoes of the first series these two took part in the group stage when Na'Vi were knocked out in the bottom 4 repeatedly. For Na'Vi, they've got to recover themselves. You don't want to be the team that says, okay, we lost against one of the best teams in the tournament. You want to shock everybody and remove them before playoffs.
They don't need to change their strategy. This game honestly could have been a win. Hugo was knocked out by the exact amount from a teammate right there. Maybe they could have done a little bit better at avoiding team damage, but the strategy is sound. Have your win-out players punish the side of Falcon for trying to play like very, very low tempo here. You know, it's not exactly what I thought we were going to get coming into this game. I thought we were going to see some more of just keeping early tempo, making sure that Falcons can't kick you out. But what Na'Vi are doing is that they're making sure they have one big loss streaker that can carry the team in the end phases.
Trying to get a read. We saw the Na'Vi expressions before. They were very, very stoic, even when they won the game. Now they are facing down, you know, the negative momentum from coming off of a loss into such an important game. This is where their mental will be tested the most. The ability to reset and say, we have got what it takes to get the win.
I wonder what Schalke is laughing at, because he seems to be having the time of his life. That's always good to see from teams in these high pressure situations here. They're not afraid of the opposition. They're not letting the pressure get to them. On the other side, let's see what Na'Vi's expressions are. All right, they look very calm.
There's definitely a lot more joviality on the Falcon side. I really get the energy from them that they think Game 3 is going to go exactly the same way that Game 2 went.
Ooh, it'd be really interesting. I wonder if, Na'Vi, in these situations, do you go for the high variant style of gameplay? They try to do it. Last time they were going for the ascending augments to just kind of throw a wrench in the game plan with those prismatic finales. And now let's see the portals again. Are there any ones that are super high variants? Anvil Buffet, no, Anvil Buffet is actually fine. No, all of these are pretty standard. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like there's too much effort being put on the Falcons side to contest this one. So 3-cost champion. We've got a little bit of variance bringing in here. Maybe we find something especially tasty, but otherwise, yeah, just a little bit of extra gold. So once more, one more time, this will be the last time we will see one of these teams in the entire competition.
Both teams are laughing and smiling as they load into the game. Pressure not getting them. The situation and the implications are massive here. Who will move on into the playoffs? All comes down to this.
Of course, the Wolves going to be watching this one with extreme interest. Their opponents already pre-selected for the quarterfinals. So you've always got the thing coming from the lower bracket. You have to give away more of your strategies just to stay in the competition. But that's much, much better than not making it to playoffs at all.
Oh, this is interesting tech coming out from Schalke. 1-3, Jax can't actually handle this by himself. You have to know about these situations or you're going to miss some interest. For 1-4, the only character that can actually do it is going to be Warwick with belt or chain. So that's kind of the secret tech here. Lilia and I believe Jax can both deal with 1-3 perfectly. And of course, Warwick can as well.
Well, one of the other little optimizations we can see is putting the Syndra on the front line, as we've seen from Sony before. Sangyup, definitely the hero of the previous game. Maybe with a start like this, he can be the hero the whole way through.
Very strong start coming out of Sangyup's board right here. He has the position to play portals and then transition back into Vanguard Syndra. I believe that's the game plan. All he's missing right now is those tiers and those bows. Can he find them? Bow, good find. Are there more? Oops.
All right, Sangyup. See what you can do with your carry shoes on. We start with silver, so exactly the opposite of what Na'Vi would have liked to see. The high variance, we go with the lowest variance possible.
Yeah, I really wonder what Sangyup is going to play for this time around, because all of your high-risk augments have to be gold or prismatic above. So I think we might be seeing some things that are just over-encumbered, generally very strong augments. Again, a loose streak strategy most likely going to be employed here on the side of Sangyup.
I do like this, though. I mean, Sangyup has got pretty decent items, as you said, finding at least some of the ones he was looking for. We won't be able to hold on to all of these units, but should be able to bring a decent amount of gold into the bank, and maybe by time... Okay, yeah, there we go. We got the level to give Syndra more stacking time.
I think you have to hold on to the 3 portal and, of course, the Vanguard Edge with Galio, so definitely want to level. Here, though, Ice finds the perfect items. Winsu, always the one you want to get early on. For the rest of the players, here we go, the Trash Man with Tinny Titans.
Yes!
Once again.
He just likes playing the game. He just wants to stick around in the game for as long as possible. You can't cause trouble if you're out of the game.
That's true, that's true. I can't believe that you have a griefer at this level of play. You have a player on the team that's never looking to win out, specifically just trying to ruin someone's day.
He's the best he is at what he does, just that happens to not be very nice.
He's the Dennis Rodman of TFT. Doesn't score many points, but gets a ton of blocks and rebounds, and that is MVP caliber performance. What a player, what a player. What can I say?
Hey, we love him. We love to see what he can do. A player who's a big rock dropped into the pond that will be this game. Here we go. Gets up to 20 gold, aggressively selling. Of course, with that extra HP, you want to make that into gold as soon as possible. We can see across the rest of the field, nobody else even close to this level of economy.
And what this does is it makes sure that no one can go into full loss streak and get a big econ win. We've seen this happen in previous games where someone that loses a lot and then just gets a big roll down, hits everything, or even just levels very effectively. So I actually like this play from Falcons. They're covering all of their bases. They're making sure that they cannot be overtaken by a lost streak player.
Now Shaga will be trading it a little bit back on the forwards there as we look around. We see the Ice, of course, yeah, with just such a fantastic start here. We'll hand out the L to Jitpog with that over-encumber from before. Guys, I want to see more and more of what we've got online here. Is Ice has got a chance for a tiny little upgrade to push the power of the board. Is the run right now, along with, from the Falcons side of things, who's got the early couple of wins.
Yeah, double Gwinsu is such a good find here. Of course, it's a temporary item, but helps you stack up. So, great situation. Yes, he's actually holding on to it to see if he wants to extend his win streak. It would be better, of course, on the Ashe. And if he's going to win anyway, then he can just put it onto the Syndra. So really smart holding on to the additional items. Let's see who he rotates into. This should be Chi2. And he already knows that his teammates is running a board that, you know, is fairly strong at this moment. So just going to go for the extra stacks.
I mean, my eyes are drawn to Yugo on the far right-hand side. Again, the 2-cost warriors, an underexplored avenue, but at least being used as a temporarily strong enough board for Yugo. Has an early beginnings of the streak, and looks like he's actually going to be able to put together solid early plays.
Oh, Ice actually still wins with the Quinsus onto the Syndra. Wow, I have to say these players have much better fight judgment than I do. Here we go, full open. Here we go again.
Well, I mean, this is why they're some of the best players in the world at TFT. As we look forward to what we've got, so Ice and Yugo, they're the front runners for the team in the early going. Again, as we've said so many times before, looking to pass the baton to someone else long term. I do notice though, we've got Shito down on the bottom side, our only big loss streak player from now.
Taking a look across the boards here, there's a couple problems here. There's only Syndra players on one side of the team divide. Only Falcon being able to find ones. And, I want to talk about, like, tactical inting here coming in from Hirigo, because it just takes away the possibility for players to outcap you with lose streaks, and it means that Falcon's playstyle of just pushing pressure on the lower side of the players is a very successful strategy. Nothing's going to upset them.
Yeah, and of course we've already established this is exactly the strategy that's worked so well for them before, not wanting to depart too far from the wheelhouse. So let's see, here we go. Least actually does have a board now up against Chi2, who of course has that silver ticket to get a little bit more reroll longer term. They're very happy to take the L there and keep the streak intact, heading close now to the first PvE.
It's putting some items here to avoid some damage. Every single point counts here. I believe Hirigo was going for a minor wish, wanted to get some extra econ, but finds combat instead. Not the best position, not the best find for him, but definitely still acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, it's still ultimately going to be a ton of gold in the bank. Though G2 has managed to catch up in Jitpok as well. I think the difference is a little bit less noticeable than before. So G2 going to build up a little bit more power in the bank. We're close to the end here. Ice is our only win-streaking player with a full streak. Crazy moving from Na'Vi, the closest Na'Vi have got. We've seen plenty of games like this before, though, with one team really being sandwiched between the two upper and lower halves of the opposing team.
Full streak both on Falcons is very dangerous for the side of Sanyup. It means that for the side of Na'Vi, it means that they're going to lose a lot of gold in comparison. So breaking these streaks, critical here. Yugal, only upgrade on the board. Actually has 2 upgraded front lines. So there is a shot here.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Yugo has second loss so far. I do like seeing the Spoils of War in there as a rare one, but wow, Ice just goes through like butter, pits him up to 30 and keeps that win streak intact.
Wow, so all of the streaks going on to the side of Falcon. It's a bit worrying. When you're playing from a middle position, it typically means that you have to be more of a scrapping situation. You don't have the full streak gold. That's absolutely critical. If you get the 5 streak, it's +2 gold on the PvE rounds here. So we're going to see. I think, just judging from stage 2, Na'Vi will need a couple of high rolls to get back.
Yeah, I mean, at least Crazy Moving does have some kind of streak eventually coming out of stage 2 there. It's not quite as impressive as Ice. The rest of the team do seem to be stalled out a little bit in the center. I guess at least this time around, it feels like the big difference from what we've seen before. Sanyup, one of the top 2 players rather than being the one, accepting the beatdowns.
Yeah, going to go for more of a win streak strategy. Had a great portal start from Sanyup. Crazy Moving now, going for a more shapeshifter Syndra sort of build. And does seem like we have a bit of an issue on stage as a player, I believe, dropped out.
Yes, okay, we may mean we're going to be resorting to a pause in just a second. No, it looks like we're back up.
It might just be an observer.
Okay, in that case, no worries about that one. We'll keep on moving. So Crazy Moving, we really like the shapeshifter line, and we've got the Syndra at the back. This is one of the less popular variations on the Vanguard line, but still very powerful.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people have figured out that in this line, you really need to hit a lot of the 3 costs here, and it's not really possible given how easy 3 costs are to deny in a 4v4 format. Not having access to that Nico or not having access to that Swain could sink this comp a lot more. And now we're going to see if Ice can continue his win streak. His item being rolled right here, Runan's Hurricane, not exactly the best, but still provides a little bit of attack speed.
Yeah, I'm not rating the Here We Go's chances too highly here, especially as a player on a massive loss streak. I think maybe hoping to at least get 1 elimination, but does get punched down. Still, though, only just dropping down. That Tiny Titan's really paying off. I think as much as we've been praising Here We Go, Tiny Titans, I think, gives us Here We Go plus.
True, it's the perfect augment.
It's Here We Go again.
Can I play on Falcons? I feel like I could do it. A golden quest.
What?
Oh, this
No
is
way!
He's starting to ask his teammates, can I pick a golden quest? I have 63 gold here.
He's got 71 gold already.
He should do it. He should do it.
No!
Oh, you don't have to play full spoil.
He's laughing there. Here we go. He's too humble.
Oh, he's taking one for the team.
This quest is too great for him.
I am the trash man. I will not accept this honor.
Excalibur will not be picked up there. Oh my gosh, it felt like the perfect chance. Here we go. Knows his role though on the team. That's all he needs.
Even Here We Go was laughing. He had the perfect spot, but he's sticking to the role on the team right here. He's just gonna carry out the trash.
Wait a second. We do have another big development though. Spin to win from Chip being picked up. We know, especially with a Bloodthirst in place, this is extremely powerful.
Yeah, this is interesting. So spin to win, not exactly as tanky as the other variants here. It does mean that you need to maintain a lot more tempo in order for this to kind of win out. So your attacks are no longer going to scale with the resistances. Of course, the tankiness does stay the same, but your build does need to trend a little bit more into the Bruiser build to kind of make full use of it.
And not quite good enough as yet. I think you're right, the itemization isn't fully there for Jitbot, but it feels like the potential is. We'll have to keep an eye out for if anyone else is taking away those Muggy Men to make the denial, but checking back in again, we have got the Eldritch Emblem. Ice, we know the verticals, they are extremely good here. And we should be expecting Ice to, who's already making a major impact and is undefeated so far, to keep himself that way.
So I do want to point out something very important here. We see the sequence of roll down. So Kog'Maw has the lowest cap. You want Kog'Maws to roll down first, filter the pool, and then you have your Syndra players roll down. So Falcons definitely getting the correct strategy in here. On the other side, Crazy moving, full roll down, and only gets the Syndra 2, so not looking too hot for him.
No, not at all. And again, we've seen the Na'Vi players struggling a little bit. They've been towards the center of the pack. We've seen teams before struggle to break out that center without having that extra streak gold. And G2 will just rip through there. Crazy gonna have to step back a further step, and we can see now, the Falcons, they've got Ice, they've got G2, they've got two wins streaking. Okay, no, sorry, my apologies. 1 win streaking player towards the top as Ice takes the L, but still 2 players in dominant position.
Yeah, that was a very critical win coming in from Jitbot here, able to break this streak, and he's also contesting Ice as a player, so, very critical. You take his HP low, and maybe he'll give you some of his Syndras later on. Ice, though, does have the Eldritch Emblem, which is very critical as it allows you to play 7 Eldritch, really punishes a lot of those comps that need to be grouped up. And we have seen the main line with this, just you kind of fill in with Karma in the Eldritch vertical line.
All right, looking forward to seeing what Ice has got for us longer term. Absolutely, here we go. We could be in a very different game, Clement, if only Here We Go had got the nerve to pick up that golden quest. But again, just trying to play spoiler here, the 8-round loss streak. I mean, the Tiny Titans just making such a massive difference in keeping Here We Go from getting knocked out remotely early. We've got very tight HP from 3rd place all the way down to 8th place. There's only 8 spread between those 2 positions.
Yep, and Here We Go actually waiting until the last second, make sure he's rotating into an enemy team here, and then he slams the Guinsoo. So he's trying to preserve as much HP on the rest of the members as possible, keeping to his more sacrificial role here. Sanyap, on the other hand, already on 5 Kassadins here. So a lot of people should be holding those Kassadins. We saw Chitu was at least holding, I believe, an upgraded one.
All right. I mean, as much as we're getting to see the enhanced version of Here We Go, we're getting to see what Sanyap can do with a little bit of more power behind him. I do like what we're seeing so far. Chitu, though, of course, the 6-round win streak with a Crown Guard enhanced at the front line. I mean, that's just an absolutely incredible Nunu to buy so much time.
So we're going to see we'll have to see if this strategy actually works out for Falcons. They are playing to ruin everyone's fun and just hold all of your copies. They are, Here We Go is trading all his HP to his teammates. Meanwhile, Chitu, knowing that he's playing the Kog'Maw with a very low cap, is going to try and bring Sanyap down with him, holding 4 Kassadins here. And, good fun here from the Falcon members. Calculating the EV that it's better to just grief, so puts the Nunu on the back line.
Okay, I'm absolutely here for it. Here we go. They're going to be able to get or at least a good amount of time to be able to at least get a couple of units off the field. But
very good.
G2, yeah, I really like this as well. It's something we've discussed coming to the event is when you're in a powerful position in the game, you have got more flexibility to soften your wins against your teammates, to potentially grief with your extra gold as well.
And taking a look at Yugo's board, it's been a while since we've came here. He's going with the Spoils of War game plan, but hasn't been able to win streak that well, so not getting a lot of value out of that one. And also a generic gold augment on 3-2. So I would say his spot is the hardest kind of make heads and tails of. He could be playing for more of a scrappy role. I think the lines we might be seeing are Portal with the Rise and also with the Kalista flex, but unfortunately Kalista has already been picked up by Here We Go as well.
Yes, I'm not keen on this either.
Oh, that's a huge reroll with 4 costs.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is going to change the game. So you've got the Kalista immediately. You've even got access to Karma and the Totem Kench on the front line. All right, maybe this is enough to claim some Spoils of War.
Wow, what a lucky roll right there. Hits all of the critical forecasts, Rakan, Nasus, and the Tom Kench. That is a dream scenario coming in, and this is why charms are so exciting. Any one of these charms could instantly change your fortunes.
Down on 50 HP, we'll see. So up against the spin to win board. I don't know if this is good enough to cut through us here because we are seeing, the Wukong being armed in a very bruisery style, exactly as you were hoping for. We'll be able to stay up by just doing a raw amount of damage. There's a lot of melee carries which are just getting torn to pieces while Syndra does her work. For Yugo, the loss streak is not stopped. At least it does mean Jitpok is looking very strong.
4-2 augments coming up. He really wants to hit a heroic grab bag here for Jitpok. That would take him closer to just 1 Wukong off. If you're going for spin to win, you have to keep full momentum. It's not a tank really that much in the late game. So we'll see if the big grab bag comes out onto the side of Jitpok. Currently, we are looking at Here We Go. I want to see if he's holding any Wukongs, being a good trash man like he is. I guess he didn't find any.
Don't worry, he'll keep on digging. He's very tenacious in that respect, but we'll see if Here We Go has got any more punch behind him. Suddenly we've got the Xerath hanging out on the bench, keeping an eye out to see. So okay, there we go. Ooh. There's the first one, the first Wukong being taken away. A little bit of time being bought for Falcons to make sure their opponents stay just that touch weaker.
Massive hit coming in on the side of Sanyap here as he gets the Kassadin 3 with the multi-striker +1. So he doesn't need to find Camille to hit 7 multi-striker. Also has enough HP that he's holding on to 5 Kog'Maws. So it looks like what's going to happen is they're going to be trying to send one of these Kog'Maws players out. I believe it was Chitu. But I'm surprised that Chitu is so healthy. 89 HP, okay. So must have hit earlier, had some very good fight rotations.
We'll see. I mean, the Kassadin is having a lot of his teammates being evaporated in a hurry. We have got a little bit of extra healing coming through. Kassadin is barely surviving, gets knocked away, but all right, Sanyap getting the chance to be the hero from much earlier on in the game. Navi managing to build up a couple of players towards the center as Crazy actually will break through into top 2. We're starting to see Navi finding their feet.
HP getting really low on the bottom right here. Schalke only 30 HP, and Here We Go 38. He's been playing it for a long time, and I'm not sure Ice and Chitu G2 are going to win out. If you have 2 players sacking for the team, that means the other 2 have to have very good placements to counterbalance that.
I'm really intrigued how this one goes. Again, remember, gentle viewers, whichever team wins this game goes through to playoffs to face off against the hungry, hungry Wolves. Whoever loses is out of the competition entirely and no chance to win the entire event. Certainly Falcons were one of the favorites to win the whole event coming in. It would still seem absolutely wild to see that journey end here.
G2 is playing around with a 3-star Tristana, but no real items here. So he's actually in a power trough, even though he's the highest on the HP leaderboards. I don't think he's going to be able to continue this, and this game is getting very dire for Falcons. I see more win-out potential on the side of Na'Vi at this point. Is there going to be a potential... Oh, that Camille is absolutely huge.
Oh, you guys all over it. So talk to me about what we might see the rest of Stage 4, Stage 5 look like. You know, say you're starting to lean more towards Na'Vi.
Yep.
You know, from Falcon's side, what could they do? What could happen at this point that could turn the tide?
So we're looking across the boards, and if you look at Xiaoge, he's still sitting on Syndra 1.
Oh,
that
wow.
doesn't look like a win-out position. If we are looking at Ice, 7 Eldritch is not typically as strong, and he's only hitting on Nami 1 as well. So a lot of low rolls coming out for Team Falcon. Even though they might have the HP lead total, I don't see them getting out of this. He needs to hit the Karma 2 and the Nami 2 to really salvage this, and I think what he's doing instead is just trying to play spoil here, holding on to the Wukongs. But it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Jitbok
boy.
hits.
I think it's, yeah, we can see the gold across the board with nearly for everyone apart from G2 is almost out, so the ability to hold is almost gone. This could be a huge couple of rounds coming up. The spoils of war on the other side, of course, means we're looking at Yugo, who has got the Kalista in a good position here to start hitting some of the big frontline targets as soon as is possible.
Xiaoge with a massive low roll this game. I'm trying to see how much gold he rolled, 32. So he actually tried a full tempo and natural to Syndra. Didn't really happen here. This win against Yugo would be absolutely massive. Actually traps the main tank onto the left side. Does that give him enough chance? Yes, he does actually take out the Kalista. Any amount of HP in the bottom is going to be critical here. These are AP items on the Nasus. Unfortunately, Yugo not able to hold out.
Ooh, all right. Yeah, that's absolutely something. Jitbok, of course. So we've got the 3-star Wukong up at the front line now. The Brews are coming in. You mentioned that we can't necessarily rely on that Wukong long term. What would you want to be adding onto that recipe for the perfect final dish?
I honestly feel like just Sanyup and like the rest of the members, they could just start holding on to, Xiaoge, and here we go. Make sure they go out 7/8, and there's no win-out potential on Falcons. I think Na'Vi has, at this moment, has a much higher chance of advancing.
I mean, that's of course always going to be a dangerous mindset if Na'Vi think that same thing as well. It's the most dangerous time when everything seems to be coming together. Xiaoge, though, very low on gold, has only got the 1 win in your pocket. We'll see, keeping on the right-hand side of the board, we start to see the 2 front lines collapsing. Very good position on Na'Vi to the wave out. We have got the temporary Infinity Force coming in, a good quadruple knockup. It's going to be tight to the very end. The wave is good. Xiaoge holds on again. Yeah,
that was a critical as he found the Karma 2. Wasn't there before when we looked at his fights there. So, Xiaoge stabilizing. If Yugo drops out, that's a win for Xiaoge. But there's no chance that Here We Go and Xiaoge are finishing top 4, basically. So it's all about funneling the rest of the resources. Chitu's playing Kog'Maw. I don't think he's hit Kog'Maw 3 yet, so still a very weak board. And Ice, the cool thing about Ice is that he's actually holding on to an extra spatula.
Oh.
So the game plan here could potentially be, I don't want to say it, it's a very, very, very far off chance.
Are you talking about 10 Eldritch here?
It's a far off chance, but it's possible. But let's just put it in there, possible.
I mean, you got to take the chances if things are turning against you, but it does seem like a pretty distant chance. Here we go, of course, has been hanging around, does find the most, get the full shop of 5 costs to choose from. But what's the choice going to be? Morgana, of course, is always a massive part of any squad.
Still no Kog'Maw 3. Has the duplicator already, but can't find the last copy. Does hit the Rumble 3 on the side of Chitu. Is this enough to keep in the top 4? Basically, he wants to have enough HP here, and he needs to look for the top 2 angle with the Kog'Maw comp, which is very difficult to do. Remember, Kog'Maw didn't even go into the top 3 until day 2 of the tournament.
Sorry, just watching the Shyvana walk forward and delete the backline like she's doing her best impression of an assassin, but I see what you mean there. We've got some points of vulnerability as the front line falls to pieces. G2 is not looking good at all. That's a heavy loss.
Yeah, and that's just the thing about Kog'Maw. Not a high cap really to play for here. Have to look at the bottom of the board to see if they can get some reprieve. It's going to be Here We Go that loses and Yugal that wins.
Oh boy. I mean, the amount of HP that Here We Go has lost over the course of the game is honestly kind of impressive. Thanks to the Tiny Titans, was up at the top, now down at the very bottom, but a volatile portion of the event, of this game rather. We've got 4 players on 20 or less HP. We could be seeing some decisive rounds, or we will be seeing some decisive rounds coming up, no doubt.
Falcons, the heavy favorites of this tournament, playing in front of the home team here in Saudi Arabia. Can they actually make it through?
Keep our eyes closely on Here We Go. And Yugal on the opposite sides of the screen. Here We Go, of course, has been in a downward trajectory for a little while. Keep our eyes closely to see if the front line collapses. It's looking like it's doing pretty quickly. We've got the shots from the south, but there's too many targets. Here We Go has taken a long route through this game, but will be knocked out. The trash man will be put in the bin.
Yeah, and they might be reflecting. Maybe he should have taken that golden quest here for a potential win out, because it's looking like 7 and 8 on the side of Falcons here. No Nami 2 found just yet for Schalke. His board is not looking that strong. If he runs into his own teammate, could very easily fall down. All the hopes of the team here now falling to Ice and T2, but they've been losing a lot as well.
This could be absolutely wild. I'm honestly kind of upset to see Here We Go getting knocked out so early. He's been doing an incredible job throughout this series, but you're right, the stars are aligning. The wind is whipping up here from the Na'Vi side of things. It's proving to be hard for the Falcons to take flight in this game. Schalke on the left-hand side of your screen needs again to stay up. Oh, for Falcons, nearly all hope will be lost.
No damage done by the Akali. It looks like G2 will win this round rather handedly. Yep, it's going to be a 4v5 situation, so he does knock Sanyap out at least. On the other side for Schalke, also looks like he has a chance to stay alive, but the Kalista is massive here, 59 stacks.
Wow! Schalke is gone. You can see Yugal immediately realizing it's happening.
7 and 8 for
Sanyov out in 6th place, which means if the Falcons cannot take a top 2, they will exit the competition pre-playoffs, and Na'Vi will go on to face the Wolves.
There is no Eldritch emblem here on the carousel. G2's playing Kog'Maw, not a high cap.
Look at Yugal's face, the realization. It's coming across them. This could be real.
It's finally happening. They have figured out the weakness of Falcons' game plan. They just don't have a win-out player on the team.
Oh my gosh. If Ice is dropped, it would be poetry in motion to blow out the Falcons on the final game. When Falcons did the same to them multiple times over, including this series. Crazy. And Chipok, they're both on big win streaks right now and a massive amount of health.
He is so far ahead, can even buy the 18 gold artifacts here.
Jeez.
Just rubbing salt into the wound. He's going to be going up against G2. G2 buying every combat charm he has. He's on survival mode already. Doesn't even have gold to level. There's no way a level 7 board is going to win out.
Oh boy, yeah, you can just see there's so much crowd control and knock up the front line is good across multiple units. So Shyvana being an absolute MVP of disruption.
Ice in danger.
Yeah, Ice on the right-hand side takes the hit.
I think Ice is out.
No, no way. He's
1
on
HP?
1 HP? For the Falcons, hope is here, but it's only by the tiniest of margins. One more loss for Ice, and Na'Vi will have taken their place in playoffs.
Ice here, his big carry is the Camille 2. Wasn't able to find the Karma 2 here. Sitting on 2 Eldritch Spatulas. Things are getting extremely dicey. This is a must-win situation for Falcons. The team that, when we look down the roster, had the best chances might just fall down to Korean domination coming out of APAC.
We had such high hopes for this Eldritch board as well. We know the verticals have been incredibly strong. So much damage, being completely reliant on our Syndra to get the job done. See Kalista, of course, the burst damage makes it very hard to read fully. Camille is doing a good job of cutting through. I don't think Kalista's got enough in the tank, and Ice holds on by a thread.
But they still need so much to go well. Jitpock sitting on a 10-win streak at this point. At any moment, he could end Falcons' hope. They do make it into the PvE rounds here. Ice holding on with 1 HP. I just don't see how Cheetu can go second. The only way Cheetu goes second here is if they're somehow able to remove Crazy's board here. Crazy also playing a Syndra composition with the Jitpock is playing the spin to win version. And Crazy, some form of a Syndra line. I think it was Vanguard Syndra or maybe Shapeshifter.
It starts to bring to mind that we certainly heard from some of the teams around the place that there's been, some of these issues where perhaps underestimating their opponent was the thing that led to them being taken out here. I wonder if it's the case here with the Falcons. Ice, again, all eyes on his performance. Cheetu is still, gamely managing to keep this going. As you said, not a composition that you would really be hoping for in these circumstances.
A key component missing from Falcons' roster compared to teams like Twisted Mind is that 4-cost flex player this time around. They had Xiaoge on the 2-cost reroll, low-rolled, and then didn't really have anyone to carry the mantle forward. So will it end here? Crazy moving, taking a look at his board. 6 Shapeshifters coming in, going up against Ice.
That's a lot of beef there. So it's Syndra versus Syndra. Of course, we got the big volley bear coming in for a little bit more disruption, but Syndra being taken out of the picture a little bit. Again, the Shyvana doing incredible work just to buy a little bit more time to work with. Volibear is holding for the time being. Nico, it's getting low, and I think this is going to be another survivor round for Ice.
They need Crazy moving to go for fourth, to go out in fourth. That is the first move, and then they still need to take out Jitpock. So there's a lot of things that need to go right. Ice only on 1 HP. Even a team rotation could be devastating. Cheetu can't even play too strong of a board here.
No. Of course, at this point, at least, it's a little easier to predict what's going to be happening. But for Na'Vi fans, you can see both their players on the loss streaks right now. Things starting to drop down.
The Morgana here makes the Rakan such a stronger tank. Extra HP and mana regeneration just as the Wukong is falling down. And this could be the round that seals the deal. This could be the knockout.
A little bit of extra preserving on the front line. You said the secondary tank needed to be absolutely there. We have got the preserver on the backside as well. And the Archangel is ticking through.
Spin to win!
Spin to win! It's bringing
the front line's down!
You can see Na'Vi! They're fighting! It's happened! The dream is real! Ice has been melted! Na'Vi go to playoffs! The Falcons have been dropped! Na'Vi means born to win! And these 4 certainly were!
I am at a loss of words. Na'Vi was considered maybe the 3rd best Korean team at the tournament, and they still knock out the favorites here in Falcons. When it comes to team game esports, there's just something special about Korea.
That was actually one of the things we were talking about coming into this one. The gaming culture of Korea, the ability to work as a team, to communicate, to be more than the sum of your parts. I wonder what Na'Vi felt waking up this morning, if they thought this would be the moment where they got what could even potentially have been the hardest matchup of the entire tournament and took them down before even getting to playoffs.
There are so many parts now up in the air in this tournament, with the favorites being knocked out. CN losing their critical seed here. And I think there was some misplays happening. I honestly felt like a Golden Quest might have been the answer coming here for Here We Go.
100% agree with that. I think this thing, Here We Go, yeah, if that had taken place, again, we've seen every single time, and Here We Go's position for it. He had so much gold in the bank. I think we would have been looking at a complete series flip.
Jitpock also piloting this Wukong Syndra line perfectly. This is, we've seen win-outs again and again with this composition. If you can hit, massively powerful. Falcons ruminating on their loss on the left side in the screen right here. It's been a very tough year for Cheetu. You know, he's probably the highest profile player on this squad.
Just seeing the faces of Falcons there as well. We saw how they came into the game, you know, after game 2, being so dominant, thinking they had found their way back in again. Full of fire for this game, but I mean, it's not just been a win for Na'Vi, it's been a dominating win. They've done so incredibly well here to do exactly what Falcons were doing to everybody else, to push out the multiple opponents in the bottom 4. It wasn't the immediate win, but it was still nearly as powerful as it would have been otherwise.
Jitbok smiling to himself. It's been a while, Jitbok. Welcome back to the international stage.
It's a quiet smile, but a well-earned one.
For a lot of these players, it's been multiple sets since they've been able to participate well. Korea has a lot of talent. Honestly, on Na'Vi, the closest one in recent form has been Sanyup with his performance in the Golden Spatula Cup for APAC. The rest of the players not able to make it to that stage, but they found their own avenue there. Nobody thought that they were gonna perform. We were very surprised when it was in the APAC Open qualifier. 3 Korean teams taking the slots here, and all of them still in the running. T1 dominating there, going through to the playoffs. And now Na'Vi going to follow in those footsteps as they put the finishing touches onto Falcons. What an upset, what a series.
And the headset put down for the final time by the Falcons there. You could just taste the moment in the air. I think it's